Authenticity isn't a nice to have in leadership. It's a non-negotiable. In a world full of facades, only your truth is the boldest move you can make. Welcome to the Danni Vee Show, the podcast for high-performing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs ready to lead with elegance, courage, and radical responsibility. I'm Danni Vee, and I'm here to help you strip away the fluff and step fully into your power at the boardroom and in business. In each episode, we'll share no-nonsense insights and real conversations on what it takes to show up authentically, make tough decisions with grace, and create impact at the highest levels. So if you're ready to own your voice and lead on your terms, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Danni Vee Show. And boy, do I have a treat for you today. Today, I am deep in conversation with the incredible Kristy Morris from KAILO. Kristy is redefining what modern well-being actually looks like. It's grounded, evidence-informed, and deeply human. With a background spanning in health, leadership, and conscious living, Kristy is known for bridging the gap between science and intuition. And boy, do we get into the conversation about intuition today. Her work supports people to regulate their nervous system, reconnect with their bodies, and create a sustainable energy in a world that constantly is asking us to push, do more, and just demand more of us every single day. At the heart of KAILO is Kristy's belief what well-being isn't about, and that is fixing yourself. It's about coming home to who you truly are, coming home to yourself with a calmness, a clarity, and a capability that anybody else can do. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Danni Vee Show, Kristy. It is such a privilege to have you a part of the show and to have discussions with you with such a powerhouse woman as you are. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So I wanted to start out really thinking about where you've come on your journey, because your organization and your company really started through some health troubles of your son, was it? Was it your son? And you really started stepping into being healthy and strong. And what I really love about that is that it gives you the opportunity to be stronger and more successful when you're healthy. I believe that as well. So my first question for you is what moment forced you to really step and back yourself as a leader?
Wow, now that is a very important but big question. I think, to be honest, when did I have to really back myself? There have been so many times, and I think often there are times that come without you realizing. I feel for me, it was when I wanted to start to step off physically working in the business all day, every day on reception and start to lead the team and work on the business. And I think it's that feeling of, when you go from doing more task-orientated duties every day and then you start to become more strategy. And I think that was a really big shift in the way I viewed how I would show up for work every day. So I think it was that shift, which would have been back in 2021-ish, end of 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. And so as you've been building KAILO, what did you have to unlearn about success?
I feel unlearning that you have to be so focused on outcomes. I think when you're too focused on an outcome, you can miss opportunities that are standing right there in front of you. Before you go into business, people always tell you that you need to do a strategy and know what the outcomes are that you're searching for. If there was advice I'd give someone, I'd say it's the complete opposite to that. The more you focus on an outcome, you're too fixated on a direction. And then something is there on the side that could be a better way forward, but you're too fixated on going this way.
Yeah,
So I think unlearning, don't be so focused on the outcome.
And so I guess that's like when you're trusting your intuition. When has that really stepped up for you more than strategy? Because you said before you wanted to step away from working in the business all the time. So that really does require strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, like you said, you really do need that intuition, and otherwise you miss those really gold nuggets that are there. So when did you really step into that intuition rather than strategy?
I think for me personally, it was probably already there without knowing it was there because our operations manager one day said to me, "You say yes to everything. Like, why do you say yes to everything?" And I
Oh, we're
said that,
kindred spirits.
I say yes because you never know where a conversation might take you. So if someone requests, "Hey, let's go have a meeting," I will go, even if it may not necessarily feel like it's the right fit. You don't know that until you're in someone's energy. And
Mm.
when you sit with someone, that's when you know. You go, yes, this is a right fit for our business, or no, it's not. You can't make that decision until you've had a conversation. So I think for me, intuition is in every conversation I have with someone.
Yeah, I really love that. And I love how you said like listening to your intuition is also saying, no, this isn't right for the business because I know for myself in the early days, I would push past that thinking, oh no, maybe it might work. I'll just see how it'll go. And it never works out because you're going against that intuition. So really understanding what that is with inside you as well. I love how you said, it's a yes or a no, listening to that as well.
Yeah, no, and I think
Yeah.
it's also that, when you go on, and this is that outcome focus too, where sometimes you'll get a rejection on something you're really hoping for. And that's when you learn the rejection's actually a redirection. And I'm sure you've probably heard that saying many times, but it really is. Every no that comes to you that you thought you wanted always ends up being for a much better reason that you don't see until later. So now when those things happen, I go, "Oh, that didn't work out. Great. Something else is gonna come along that's gonna be the right fit for us." So it kinda goes
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a really great example of that from last year, actually. I had a big no that broke my heart for running one of my female founder programs. And I was so excited because I was going to be giving back to community and I just got a big blank wall. But it redirected me. I am actually running it this year through a different community group. And I get to give back and do that female founders program. You get to give back and then you get to create change for women in business as well. Because I think that's so important which I've learnt throughout the years because as I've grown, I've been in business for over 25 years and I've never in the beginning had support. I always discovered females that didn't want to support me and didn't want to, open a door for me. And so I'm so passionate now that if I can open a door for another female leader and business owner, I'm going to do it because I never had that. And it's just such a privilege to have women out just like you that are ready to, you know, really champion the leaders in our community.
Yeah. Wow, well said. I think that's a very true story, sadly, amongst the female journey. It's not
Mhm.
all the support from the fellow female is not always there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So then I guess that leads into your leadership. When have you felt like your leadership has really been stretched behind the scenes?
I feel like when your business is growing and you're financially invested to a level that feels uncomfortable and you're trusting the direction you're going in, but you're feeling a level of stress that you can't then relay that on to your team because you need everyone motivated and invested and excited. And if they see you tiltering, it's not a good thing. So I think for me, probably a good chunk of 2025, we've been in a real stretch of growing our business internationally. And my leadership at times was tested on how to show up because I would be feeling stressed. I'd have to self talk. You need to walk in today. You need to motivate your team and be on. And, that's really hard to do. And I think
Yeah.
it's human. Like we all have these feelings as human, but as a leader, you need to be able to step through that. And I think I see a shift in myself, even in the last couple of months, of learning that stress is only what you allow it to be in your body. Like I've had to really teach
I love
myself
that.
over the last 12 months. And I have just come into this year going, I have made these decisions. I've chosen to go out on the ledge and I'm doing that for a reason. The opportunities aren't there for me not to keep going at this point. Like there's a reason you've gotten to this point. So you have to trust yourself. I think it's that really backing yourself. So I've removed a lot of that stress.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about that trust in yourself. The work that I've done with leaders and entrepreneurs, it's always about like a baseline that there's this lack of trust within themselves. And so then that follows on to the lack of trust in others. And, it's this cycle that happens and that belief in yourself as well. I think that's a really strong boundary that you need to set to be able to move forward and have the success like somebody like yourself. You're going internationally You run such a integrity driven brand as well. Like it's known for its integrity. You're known for your just calmness when you walk into a room. You just kind of like float, Kristy. It's just brilliant.
Great. Good to know.
That's what it looks like from the outside. So with boundaries, what would be a boundary that you've set that's really shifted your energy and focus within the business?
Uh, this has been a really hard one, but one that was necessary not only for myself, but for the fellow team member. And sort of early to mid 2024, the whole team were just working at a pace that was not sustainable longer term because we'd started the nutrition, it was going over into the US. Everyone was working across both businesses. So you kind of got this established business and now a startup. And so come 2025, I needed to set boundaries that came really through for the team initially. And then I realized I needed them for myself. And that was about efficiency and supporting your team within the normal workday, whatever that looks like. We're a 7-day-a-week business, so we had to work around what was going to be functionable and making sure that people were switching off and they don't need to respond to a message at 8 o'clock. I might send a message at 8 o'clock because that's the only time I can, but letting the team know they don't have to respond to me until they're back at work the next day. And then I realized a lot of the stuff I was doing was because I was always working, and then I'd be agitated with the kids because they're trying to talk to me. And I'm like catching myself going, just a minute. And I'm like, what am
Oh
I
my
doing? Is
goodness.
it really that important? No, it's not. If we go back 15 years ago, you went home, you didn't have emails, the businesses still ran really well.
Yeah,
So it was like
exactly. You
this
didn't have that
moment of,
instant access.
yeah, and I think now everyone is getting their proper time off. Everyone is feeling more invested in the time that they are at work because they're like, right,
Yeah.
I'm going to switch off later, so I need to get everything done now. And you're more efficient. If you know you're going to work all the time, you're not as efficient
Yeah,
and you're stressed
exactly.
all the time. So, yeah, boundaries for me are, yeah, protecting my home life, showing up for my children and being really present when I'm with them.
Yeah.
I have to check myself regularly on that, like, and go, oh, what am I doing? I don't need to do this now. I can do that later. It's not urgent.
Yeah, absolutely. Presence is so important with family when you are a businesswoman. I strongly believe that. And like how you and I were saying before we started recording, having that immersive time with family is just so important because, especially if you have children, they grow so fast. And, we've both got the spectrum. So I feel the spectrum because I've got a 16-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter. So I can see how quickly you have to hold on to it all the way through. So that's such a big one for me as well. As a businesswoman, over the years, it's been such a huge personal development journey for me. And I've been through many ups and downs personally. And I've had to keep on showing up as a businesswoman because my first business was I ran a really large piano teaching organization throughout Brisbane. And then I ran a health and wellness business. So I ran a women's health and wellness business online and in person. And then also I've got the Danni Vee brand now. So it's always been, I'm the face of the business. I have to really show up and show that energy no matter what was going on in the background. So with success has really changed me as a woman because I've had to learn to, like you said, like have that self-talk, speak to myself as a leader, show up at work, even if you've got some stuff going on, you don't bring that energy into the room, and then also teach your staff that as well. As you've really gained the success that you have, how's it changed you as a woman, not just as a CEO, but as a woman?
Genuinely, in the last 18 months, I can honestly say I feel like I've come into my own of acceptance of where I'm at as you get older. So I feel like I'm really happy with where I'm at with my age, how I look. There was such a tough journey there, I think, when you're working all the time and you almost wear busy as a badge of honor. And I've
Mhm.
learned that really it's not that impressive and nobody cares how busy you are because like, like you really hear, how are you going? And busy, busy. You hear people all the time. And you're like, I don't know what to do with that as a response. And then if I'm saying that to you, everyone's in their own world doing their own thing, right? So I think I've come into my own and realized the only person who can make me feel genuinely happy is a woman and accept the way our body changes and the way things, as you age, the slowing down of the metabolism and really putting health. I think my biggest shift has been non-negotiable is my health. And taking that time that if I'm not feeling great or I need to do something extra for my health, I'll put that as a priority now. And that's okay because at the end of the day, nobody else can do that for you. And if you don't have your health, you can't show up for your children or your business. So for me, that would be my biggest shift, just accepting where I'm at, the way I look, everything about this season of my life is exactly where it's meant to be and nothing's
Yeah.
perfect and that's actually okay.
Yeah, that's incredible. So when you talk about your health, because this is your company, could you share with my listeners exactly what does that look like? So if you feel like you're lacking in energy or lacking in focus, what do you do to ensure that your health is at its optimum?
Yeah, well, I've had my own personal journey with having autoimmune disease. And I think all of those things came from the level of stress that I was under those first few years of business. And I wore that badge. I'm just going to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep working. You know, it's great to say you work 7 days a week, whatever. Now, like, really, as I said, nobody cares.
It's so
And
true.
And what has happened now, and it only affects your health. And so where I'm at now is there are these non-negotiables for me. So exercise is a non-negotiable, but I had to shift the way I exercised. I was all or nothing. I was go hard on something. And I moved into the world of Pilates, which is not naturally what I would have gone to. It has changed my life. And I think it's because you have to be present
Yeah, you
when you
do.
do Pilates. You have to think about what you're doing. So anything you're normally worrying about or your to-do list, whatever that is for someone, you're not thinking about anything but the movements you're doing. And it's become a de-stressor for me. So that my food,
Fantastic.
I'm immaculate with my food and I think about what I put in my body instead of just going, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm busy, I need to go and do this. I'll just eat that on the run. No, I meal prep in the mornings. So I really look after
Perfect.
myself with, yeah, like no sugar. Not saying I never eat sugar my whole life, but 99.9% of the time I do not eat sugar. I don't drink alcohol. And I genuinely just focus on movement and nutrition.
That's fantastic. Really great. I'm very passionate about movement. Obviously,
Mm,
I ran a women's health and wellness business for so many years. So very passionate about and also nutrition. And that goes like with my mindset coaching as well. I've done a lot of deep research in neuroscience and your nutrition is going to affect your brain as well. So nutrition is such an essential part for great success and being energetic and focused in that success as well. I really love that. So what is something that you wouldn't tolerate anymore that you used to tolerate?
I won't tolerate something that's not in alignment. So if I
Mm,
come across somebody in business or even within your own team, I feel like sometimes you can have a people pleaser in you where you always feel like you want to do the right thing and you've got to keep everyone happy, but it actually doesn't work in society that way. Sometimes it actually goes against you. And so I've had to learn, and I'm very much in that stage now where if I feel that someone is not in alignment or there's an agenda coming towards me, I have no qualms in just being quite like, this isn't, I'm out, like I'm not interested. I think it's about the authenticity side of things is really important in a world that you really can't trust anything anymore. And I'm not saying I don't trust people, but there's so much coming at us, whether it's through social media, you can't trust the news like you used to. And so I feel like as a community and as people now, we all want real connection. And so for me, that's a non negotiable. I'm not going to just do a partnership in business with someone because it might help the business. It has to be a true alignment to work
mm.
together because that way you're enjoying the journey. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with that so deeply, Christy. I actually, I've been in business for so long, but it's actually taken me almost all this time in the past 5 years is that those beliefs have just been starting to drop in because I was so wanting to believe that everyone was good. And
Mm.
there's been so many times where, I believe people were authentic and it didn't work out so well. And now I'm very cautious with that as well as who I let into my energy more so than anything. You can be polite and have a chat with someone, but really making sure that you have that alignment. And I love how you speak about alignment. And I speak about alignment a lot as well and what that means. And I think a lot of people don't really understand what that means. And for me, it means really understanding your internal beliefs. So your your intrinsic values. And I speak a lot about intrinsic and extrinsic values. An extrinsic value of mine is family, because I've got my beautiful family that my whole life revolves around, but I can't feel family. So they give me love and connection. So that's my intrinsic values. So that really deep alignment is so important. I'd love to get your take on what alignment means.
I think it comes down to exactly what you said. It's core values for me. So someone who and you've got to have that integrity piece in how you,
Yes.
from a business perspective, you want to work with other businesses that have integrity. I don't want to do shortcuts. I don't want to do something just to get an outcome. I want to work with someone that we're both going to have, I guess, a mutual benefit, but that you're actually having impact. For me, it's about
Yes.
impact. So what's the value system and what's the impact that we're both wanting to achieve here? And when those things come together in a partnership or a collaboration, or even within your own team or your own home life or external family, it feels different. It feels easy. It shouldn't be hard. That's the biggest
Yes.
lesson when you're trying for something and you're working on a partnership and it feels hard, it's getting tricky and it's going back and forth. It's not meant to be. Like that
Yeah.
shouldn't feel like that, because when it aligns, it flows.
I really like that, with like having the impact and the intrinsic like core values and authentic impact. That's such a difference to, I want to make impact. What type of impact do you want to make? And that really true, authentic, positive impact on the world is so important as well. Thank you so much. You've just been such an honor to have on the podcast and be in your energy. And I really appreciate you making the time to come and chat with us today. Thank you so much, Kristy. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on the Danni Vee Show today. I hope you're leaving this episode feeling inspired and empowered. My goal is always to bring you elegant insights with a bold impact. If you enjoyed our conversation, I invite you to subscribe to the show and leave a quick review. Your feedback not only means the world to me, but it also helps other growth-minded leaders find this community. Remember, leadership is an inside-out journey. The poise, the passion, and the purpose we cultivate within ourselves are what transform the world around us. So until next time, stay true to your vision and keep leading with the unique mix of grace and strength. Stay radiant, stay resilient, and I'll be right here cheering you on. I can't wait to hang out with you again on the next episode of the Danni Vee Show.